We make up horrors to help us cope with the real ones. Stephen King. Horror, tales of fiction that have been around since ancient Greeks and ancient Roman times. Hell, maybe even further than that. Supernatural tales of demons, witches, vampires, and ghosts. And fast forward to the 1980s, horror films and games were introduced as time progresses. Clearly, gaming and horror movies have increased in quantity and, best of all, quality. Everyone should know games like Silent Hill, Fatal Frame, and the most popular of all, Resident Evil. These games of survival horror have become foundations for horror games up until the present day. Today, however, we're talking about a co-op action horror FPS game that can also be considered a survival horror game. A game that grants terror even if you have a weapon in your hands. GTFO. I don't think I need to spell out the abbreviation. If you've never heard about this game, GTFO is a flat-screen cooperative game of up to 4 players. You and your friends, or randoms if you don't have friends, which are highly recommended by the way, the friend part, because teamwork, right? You and those 3 other players are to explore aggressive and horrific environments. The minute a player messes up, everyone is thrown into absolute chaos. The experience happens to be on large maps that require the team to communicate and acquire different gear to improvise, adopt, and overcome situations and challenges that can be extremely challenging. Each expedition in GTFO is unique while also giving you options on select tools and weaponry, but that's not enough to survive. GTFO is known to be a terrifying experience on the flat screen. The team must be focused and prepared to be in battle or commit the smoothest of takedowns together. The environments are dark, foggy, and the overall ambience is sweat-drenching. I can't say that word, drenching. Drenching. You know what I'm talking about. The story of GTFO is a team of 4 that are trapped in a complex against their wills and need to traverse the underground complex to carry out different objectives for an entity simply known as the Warden. And these 4 survivors just want to get the fuck out, is the abbreviation. The complex has been abandoned for years and is overrun by grotesque monsters that consume flesh. The characters are Hackett, Dauda, Bishop, and Woods. Hackett is an Irishman described to be a comical and an ironic individual that's also a reliable teammate. Bishop is an Englishman who is distrustful and a hard-headed individual that wants to get the job done. Just go home. And then Woods is an American. That's mainly it for him. Dauda is a cunning and secretive Nigerian individual, and these characters interact with each other in the complex depending on the atmosphere, whether they're trying to be silent and signify that hey, there's a sleeper ahead of them, or just, communicating. This teamwork dependent game features gameplay and puzzle elements like hacking to open doors or retrieve specific items, IO scanning to allow the individuals through some doors, stealth to conserve resources and eliminate foes, and also including progression with no leveling system, just pure skill and teamwork, and lastly, combat of either melee, sentry tools, or firearms. Alright, that is enough about the synopsis of GTFO. Let me present to you the main reason you clicked on this video. GTFO has a VR mod. This flat screen experience in quick summary is terrifying. As a person that has played many horror games as well as VR horror games, this experience is definitely different to tackle even with the ability to use motion controllers. And to note, the default motion controller bindings are not your typical controller scheme, at least for a couple things, nothing too harsh. But pushing that controller for later, the VR experience. This mod is a plugin for the flat screen game of GTFO to make it a full room scale VR game. Before going further on how this came to be, GTFO is configurable to your liking in-game and not in a file, and you can adjust these settings whether you're left-handed or if you simply just want to play with the gamepad. Also note that GTFO in VR can be taxing on your performance, so adjust the settings accordingly in the VR sub-tab in settings, and more info in the installation process of the video. Now, I took the liberty of contacting the author of the GTFO VR mod to get some more information for you as to how this mod came to be, as the GitHub is, I guess, quote unquote, lacking in terms of information. Spartan, the mod author, the sole mod author, I might add, released the first version of the mod in February 1st of 2020, which was only playable with the gamepad at the time of its release. As I said, Spartan was a sole modder and still is, yet with some help from others along the way, like Mr. Krag, I believe that's how you pronounce it, who created a watch model that Spartan had implemented into the mod, which is the watch that gives us our health indications as well as objectives, and so on. Then much further in, which is much closer to present day, an individual named Alchemist, or Nicholas, integrated and helped with the implementation of bHaptic support into the mod. And I also took the liberty to ask what sparked the idea. Spartan replied with, he simply just wanted to see what GTFO would look like in VR. And as time progressed, Spartan would continue adding onto this VR adaptation, and I quote, I just kept adding onto it whenever I was bored until it became feature complete. I personally thought that the motivation for this project was deeper, but who knew that the sheer wonder of what it would look like in VR could bring it to fruition. And this fruit is one of the best VR experiences I've had in a while. This mod features radial menus to select the items and weapons you wish to use. Two-handed aiming is working flawlessly as well. The charging feature of the hammer works great once you get the hang of it. Basically, you have to hold it, and once you see a flash on the tip of your hammer, you can commit into the stealth takedown. And there are two variations of the strength of the takedown. The first flash is the 50%, and the second flash is the 100%. But shortly after, your character will start to lose grip and not be able to commit to the takedown, which is a nice feature to add that flashing to indicate that, hey, it's ready to go. This mod also features a watch, as I mentioned earlier, to keep track of your objectives and resources of your character. This mod also allows players on flat screen and VR to play with each other, because it doesn't really affect much, just mainly the visuals and the perception of those visuals. The UI for VR is customizable. The menu, map, and terminal interfaces work properly in VR, and also support for those physical stocks and haptics, as I said earlier. Like Risk of Rain 2, GTFO was not intended for VR use, but the experience makes it seem like it was made for VR, unlike Risk of Rain 2. The experience was impeccable, and it is an experience like Risk of Rain 2 that made me want to play this game solely in VR and nothing more. GTFO is a title that is hard to play and to get used to, especially while working with friends to get the teamwork down pat and to have it flow properly to make the experience an authentic and immersive one. GTFO is basically the Dark Souls of FPS horror games, I guess, at least in my eyes. While Risk of Rain 2 gave you the differences in scale when playing as a survivor, GTFO gives you the experience of being in a true situation that grants the horror of being in the dark while needing to be silent as you're in like a movie, like Don't Breathe. Yet you're with monsters that have abilities that can be unique to themselves. These monsters' common names are sleepers, yet each sleeper can be different. I've only encountered the more common ones in my VR expeditions, yet these sleepers are still hard to deal with, even if you're doing the first rundown, at least for me and my team. I played with a full team of friends, Berto, who has been featured in other videos, as well as Chase, or Crimson Destiny, and then another friend of ours, Brandon, who is named Apple Bottom Jeans in the video. In the beginning of the expedition, the pod dropped, which was the most discomforting sense of vertigo I had ever since playing for VR, which I've had for more than 2 years, I might add. I've played for VR for a while now. While getting far into our first rundown, we failed at the last door as the hordes of the sleepers bodied us and ate us all. I was the last to go, which was very not, it wasn't fun. It was kind of horrifying. Overall, the gameplay with my specifications ran smoothly with occasional drops due to the vast amounts of fog that GTFO has. On the footage, however, it'll seem like I had a rough time playing the mod, yet when I played it, I didn't have any issues at all. It was rarely noticeable in VR, those specific drops that I mentioned. The gameplay itself had no issues and worked rather well. The controller scheme for the index motion controllers was rather strange, specifically the gripping to sprint and the gripping to crouch. Well, each grip did something else. But nonetheless, it was easy to get used to and nothing more. I had slight confusions initially when playing, like the meters on my watch as to what they indicated, but after playing for about 5 minutes, that confusion dissipated, for the most part. The most noticeable aspect of the VR game that slightly breaks the immersion are the menus before the game. It was basically just a Steam VR loading screen, or waiting screen, the screen in the background with all the mountains and stuff, if you have that one. Well, it says you can change it, but anyway. It was basically just a Steam VR window that was curved like a desktop window in front of you, which is a very different thing from Risk of Rain 2, but it still works, and for that, I can't complain. The game works in VR, and it is a great experience, and that's enough for me. Now, onto the installation. Now, installation is simple, not as simple as Risk of Rain 2, but still easy to execute. Once you go to the GitHub link, which is in the description, download the first install zip file, if it is your first time downloading the mod anyway, which I assume it is. You can then go to your game directory location and extract it there. Once it is extracted, you must then go to the game in your Steam library, right-click, select properties, go to the general tab, and make sure use desktop game theater is off, similar to Risk of Rain 2. And to start the game in VR, launch Steam VR first, then launch the game. You can ignore any warnings that state it is not VR supported, it will work just fine. If it is not your first time downloading the mod, download the other zip file with the same link. You must also download the BepInEx, I think that's how you pronounce it, the BepInEx file, and extract that into the same directory along with the initial file. Then do the same with an archive that must go into the newly created BepInEx folder, which can be found below as well. But as I said, I'm hoping this is your first install, so none of this will matter. Now onto my thoughts, my honest thoughts about GTFO VR. Like Risk of Rain 2, I don't think I can play flat screen the same. The experience in VR is horrifying, and it's a tense feeling that I enjoy. Trying to stealthily eliminate hordes and that having that slight pressure is a thrill. The creepy ambience, the random illuminations, and the deep dark environments from those creatures, and communicating with the team to try and achieve a true stealth approach, and so on. Playing this in VR surprises me that GTFO hasn't been made in VR initially, or supported anyway. But in reality, most games can be made for VR. It's just a matter of doing it, and having the correct individuals to do it. Yet, those individuals and teams that create these VR mods are a part of each community that just wants to bring more life to the table. And for those people, thank you for creating these, truly. Author of Risk of Rain 2 and Spartan of GTFO. Thank you for making these. If you want a VR horror experience that can put you in the edge of your seat? Foot? Standing? Lean. If you want to lean, try GTFO VR. It's an experience that will be etched into your mind, whether it was for fun or out of sheer terror. Finding flat screen to VR mods has been a trip, and I want to cover each one that I possibly can because these mods or plugins are just fantastic to play and experience and cover. I just want to cover each one as I possibly can. There's nothing more to say than that. I hope you enjoyed the video though. All the links for the mod, the flat screen to VR Discord, and PayPal will all be in the description for you to try and support the mod and the creator, or to just seek help. Now I'm curious, after watching this video, do you plan to try GTFO in VR? Do you want to be terrified, or do you want a new VR horror experience? Let me know in the comments, give me your honest thoughts, and so on. I'm curious to know and want to start a conversation about it. If you want to carry this conversation on longer, go to the Soul Chamber, my Discord server. And with my Discord, you'll be notified and up to date with my content there as well. Come chat with me and my fellow souls. We're having a good time over there. Hell, you might find some people who might want to play GTFO with you in VR. Now, if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps me fight the YouTube algorithm, those pesky robots. And if you're interested in other VR content as well as other hilarity, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get notified of those future videos. And one last thing is to keep your soul free.
you.